Hey guys, it's Vern here again from the Hack Check podcast. Sorry for it being a little bit dark. We're experiencing load shedding, so no lights. That's something that we have here in South Africa. For those of you that don't know what it is, Google it. So I'm just going to come on here and discuss the possibility or chat a little bit about the rumors of a potential fight between Khamzat Chimaev and Paulo Costa. It's rumored that the two will fight each other at UFC 294 in Abu Dhabi in August. And I thought I'd just give you my thoughts on the potential of that fight happening. Now, first of all, I'm a major fan of both of these fighters. I'd love for them to fight each other. I think it is going to happen. And the reason being, number one, Khamzat Chimaev, even though he's been fighting at welterweight recently, seems to be struggling to make weight at welterweight. We saw in his last fight with Kevin Holland that he really struggled to get to 170, ended up at about 177 or 178 pounds, and was basically already halfway to middleweight. So it seems like he's going to go up to middleweight. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the two of them kind of had, just before that fight, had a bit of a back and forth at the UFC PI. Then subsequently, that was in person, subsequently on Twitter. We saw Paulo Costa go on various shows and try to troll Khamzat Chimaev, but that fight never happened. It seems inevitable that Khamzat's going to move up to middleweight. So, of course, he is now trying to skip the queue, rightly so, very smart guy, and go straight for Israel Adesanya. Now, as I addressed in a previous video, I'll link it in the description below. I think Adesanya and Dricus Plessis will fight one another for the middleweight title. That leaves Khamzat Chimaev to fight one of the top 5 in the middleweight division. Now, in previous years or previous times that people have tried to jump up a weight class and fought for a title or anyone near the top 5 in a weight class above them, they've usually been the champion at the time or a former champion of the division below. And they've tried to make the step up, some with varying success. And being the champion, that's really acted in their favor for a lot of people getting straight title fights. We've seen Israel Adesanya do it himself. We've seen BJ Penn do it way back when. We've seen Randy Couture, Conor McGregor, Daniel Cormier, John Jones, the list goes on. Now, we need to also bear in mind that even though Khamzat Chimaev has been on an absolute tear at 170, being a fight at 185 is a whole different level. People are much bigger, people are much stronger, and they've got a lot more power in their punches as well. So even though Khamzat Chimaev has been on an absolute tear at 170, I still feel that he needs to have at least one fight at middleweight so we can see what he's like at middleweight, because there's a big difference between fighting at 170 pounds and 185 pounds. It's a big weight difference, and the sheer power and size and strength of people at 185 versus 170 is immense, the difference in the sizes. Even though Khamzat Chimaev was big and strong for 170, I think everybody would like to see what he's like at middleweight. Some fans do want to see him fight Israel Adesanya straight away. I think Khamzat Chimaev needs to prove himself at middleweight first. We need to see what his power is like. Is he going to be as dominant? Is he going to be the same fighter at 185? He might even be stronger just because he'll be fighting closer to his natural weight. He is big. I mean, even for middleweight, he probably will be big. So chances are he will probably have a similar style and similar success at middleweight. However, until we see it happen, we just never know and we can't make that call. And I think that it will be the same for UFC. I'd like to see what he's like at middleweight first and see if he's actually got a chance at middleweight before pushing him for the title. Just like Adesanya being so dominant at middleweight, really struggled against a bigger Jan Blachowicz. I think a fight against Paulo Costa is perfect for Khamzat. I think it suits his style. I think it shows us and it will tell us a lot about how he will perform at middleweight. Paulo Costa, of course, is no slouch at middleweight. He's a top contender. I think if they start Khamzat Chimaev out against Paulo Costa and he has a dominant performance, then you could maybe have a title eliminator against Robert Whittaker. As I said before, same thing with Dricus Plessis. I don't think Robert Whittaker, even if he beats Dricus if they were to fight, or Khamzat Chimaev if they were to fight, maybe then they would put him against Israel Adesanya. But I think that chapter's done for Robert Whittaker, so he himself might have to move up to 205 or down to 170, which I don't think is possible. So I think Khamzat Chimaev versus Paulo Costa makes sense. I think the bad blood or the rivalry is already there. You can sell it on that alone. There are obviously question marks about Khamzat at 185. Paulo Costa just recently signed his contract again with the UFC, so he's ready to go. There's also some questions about it being in August and that being too long. I don't think that will be too long. I think Khamzat Chimaev will be ready to go after Ramadan and Eid. And Paulo Costa, his last couple of fights, has been fighting once a year in any event. So I don't think it's going to be an issue to have it in August. And I think that can be your main event for Abu Dhabi, unless they have Dricus Plessis versus Israel Adesanya on that card as well. So different champions and different fighters have had different success going up a weight class. We've seen people like BJ Penn be relatively unaffected going up against GSP, even though he did lose his fights. He still fought really well. Conor McGregor, varying success. We had John Jones. So far, it's only been one fight. Daniel Cormier, very good success as well. So anything can happen with Khamzat Chimaev, especially the fact that he is so big. It might suit his style, it might not suit his style. You never know. So the best way for us to find out is to have these two fight each other. So yes, Khamzat Chimaev has been on an absolute tear in the 170-pound division, but I still think if he is to fight in the 170-pound division, I don't even think he would be ready for a title shot in 170 just yet. I think there's still interesting fights there for him against the likes of Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, even Leon Edwards, that I think the UFC should explore first, should Khamzat Chimaev be able to make the weight. If not, and they would like to see him at middleweight, he's a massive star, there's no question about that. And I think he does start very high up in the middleweight division, but we still need to see him tested at middleweight, see how he fights, see how he reacts to the power of his opponents, not just in the grappling exchanges, but in the punches, So it's going to be interesting to see what the UFC wants to do. So with that being said, I think Paulo Costa is the perfect fight for Khamzat Chimaev at middleweight for us to test exactly where he is in the division. Jumping somebody up too high, we've seen with the likes of Luke Rockhold against Jan Blachowicz, even when Blachowicz wasn't the champion, it can backfire, and somebody you thought would be a star in a higher weight class ends up getting their hype train derailed in the first fight. So it is a risk for the UFC, but I think that is the fight to make, particularly with the situation with Israel Adesanya and Dricus Plessis. Should that fight happen, you might have, Whittaker versus Vettori or Whittaker versus Cannonier, who knows. One thing's for sure, from 155 all the way up to 205, there are some amazing matches between divisions, in divisions, dream fights, marquee fights, and I just cannot wait to see whatever the UFC does. I cannot wait to watch these fights and see how everything unfolds. So thanks for watching, guys. Let me know your thoughts on a possible Paulo Costa versus Khamzat Chimaev matchup at UFC 294 in Abu Dhabi. Please have a look out for my podcast episodes. The playlist is on my channel, and please like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Please also follow me on my other social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. The links will be in the description below, and hope you guys have a good day. Cheers. Hey guys, if you enjoyed that clip, I've got another one for you over here and over here. Please don't forget to subscribe over here and have a look at my other socials down in the description box below. Thanks for watching.